Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to chat about chapters 5 and 6 because these are the chapters of this book that I actually remembered from when I read this book 2 years ago. So something in it stuck. So I hope that when we go through this chapter together, there's going to be something, a part of this you're going to remember and you're going to implement from here on out. Every time you want to do something, and you tell yourself every time you make a New Year's resolution, anything that's new into your life that you want to get started with, remember these chapters. Okay, so I'm going to present my screen. Let me share my screen. And I'm going to show you some visuals because apparently visual cues are really important. Okay, let me move this to the side. All right, you guys. Can you guys see that? There we go. Hang with me for just a second. Okay, while this is loading, I would love to hear in the chat, tell me what it is that you've been thinking of that you need to get started on, because by now you probably have some ideas, right? Maybe it was your New Year's resolution that you started on and then it kind of fell apart and you're trying to get back into it because it's really important to you. Or maybe it was something that you've been thinking about for a while, but it's never quite happened. So tell us in the chat. And while you're doing that, pay attention to a couple things. First of all, when you verbalize something out loud, something that you want to do that you've been kind of holding close to your heart, you've never really done it, maybe that habit that you want to implement, if you say it out loud, you're more likely to actually get started on it, to do something, because that accountability factor is going to play in. And then you might also find a buddy in the chat of someone else who wants to do the same thing that you are going to do too. You can find a buddy in there. You can message them and be like, hey, me too. I want to wake up early too. Let's keep each other accountable on this. So 2 compelling reasons. Tell us in the chat what it is that you're working on. Okay, so I love this part of this chapter where he says that most people think they lack motivation when what they really lack is clarity. So there we go, right? How many times have you told yourself, if I were just more motivated, then I would go do whatever it is you want to do. If I could just motivate myself to go work out in the morning, I would do that. Or to go, work on my business, I need to be in a good mindset in order to do it. But it's not really the motivation. He says motivation is overrated. He said what we need is clarity. So be specific. So here's an example. If you're telling yourself, I'm going to work out more, be super specific about it. And the more you verbalize that and then go tell somebody, the more likely you are to actually do it. So after I change out of my pajamas, I'm going to change into my workout clothes and I'm going to do a 30-minute workout on the Peloton in my office every weekday from 7 a.m. And then I'm going to take a shower at 7:45. So, does it sound a little neurotic? I mean, maybe, but if it's going to help us make this thing happen for you and you're going to be able to stick to it, and in 5 years from now or even 5 months from now, you're going to be more like the person that you want to be, then why not, right? Let's be super specific. Okay, so he said, when your dreams are vague, it's easy to rationalize little exceptions all day long and never get around to the specific things you need to do to succeed. So when I read that, I was thinking about building our business, right? What in particular, when we say, yeah, I like that idea, I could build a business, but what in particular does that look like? Not just in general over the next 3 months, but what does that look like today for you? So take out those IPA sheets, make them readily accessible. I've got mine literally right here, so I have no excuse not to know where this is or how to use it. And take a look at it and tell yourself, okay, this is what I'm working on today. These are my specifics. I'm going to do this at this time when this thing happens. So what we're talking about here is implementation intention. That's what he says. If you're going to tie it to a specific time, he calls it implementation intention, because we're saying at this time I'm going to do this, which is good. That's a good plan. But if we if we attach it like a backpack, basically, to a habit that's already living in our life, that's not time specific, then it's more likely to happen. So he calls that habit stacking. Think about like if you told yourself, okay, I'm going to work on my this is super personal, so this happens to me all the time. I'm going to work on my business from 6 to 7, and then I get up, I get all my stuff. It's 6 o'clock. Sit down. 6:05. My little one comes out and it's like, I want a snack. Will you turn on the tablet? I want this, I want that. And so like all chaos erupts, right? So yes, I'm still going to stick to that, but what's the habit that I'm going to place around it? So if I attach it to a habit, even if the time gets a little messed up, I've got a plan, because the habit's going to happen no matter what, but the time can get, sometimes timing can get a little messed up some days. So I made this little graphic for us, and I'm going to put it in our Freedom Team page later on, but it's just a way for us to visualize and write it down. If you write it down, you're more likely to do it. Going through that habit stacking. So when there's a trigger, when I blank, when I wake up, or when I put my feet on the ground after I get out of bed, I will. What's the response? That's the thing that you want to do. Location, while I am in or at or wherever, before I. So we want to fit it in like it's an appointment, because there's two things going on. There's the trigger or the habit. There's a thing you're going to do in the place you're going to do it where that makes the most sense, so it's able to actually happen, before you do something else, because we don't want to have this like ambiguous end time where maybe you can procrastinate a little bit, right? Side note about procrastination. No, I'll get to that later. Okay, so let's talk about habit stacking. Maybe this is your morning, maybe not. Maybe mornings are super crazy, but here's an example of what a morning might look like. You wake up, you go get your coffee, you scroll on your phone while you drink your coffee, you have a time that you need to get in the shower. You kind of backtrack a little there. You got to go to work or drop the kids off to school. So you have to get in the shower at this time so you can get enough time to get dressed at this time so you can be in the car to be wherever you need to be at this time. So there's, kind of just a average morning. But if we want to put a new habit into this morning, we need to think about what are the things that are flexible, right? So when you have to go to work might not be that flexible, or drop the kids off to school. And the time that you're going to give yourself to get dressed, that maybe is flexible, but you're kind of pushing it a little bit there. And the same with your shower. So what's the wishy-washy, time there that we can do something with? It's the scrolling on your phone time. And also the alarm clock time when you wake up, because that we can move around. I was listening to this podcast where James Clear was being interviewed by Dr. Chatterjee, and Dr. Chatterjee asked him, what's a good time to start a new habit? And he said, there's no perfect time, but mornings are a good time because you have some flexibility there. The rest of your day might be decided by somebody else, whether it's work or the kids or, whatever might be happening, but morning, we have a little bit of control. So there's a fun tip, even if you're not a morning person, you can do something with your morning. Okay, so how about we eliminate that scrolling on our phone time? And I'm not trying to break you of a bad habit, that's not what this chapter is for, but when you have an open-ended habit that's also a bad habit, that's rewarding the way that scrolling on your phone might be and doesn't have an end time, then you might end up procrastinating there too. And like your habit might not happen. So let's do just 2 pages of a personal development book, or 2 pages of scripture, 2 pages of this book, whatever it may be, that you can say, not going to read a whole chapter. I'm just starting super small and reading 2 pages. And then when I finish those 2 pages, I'm stopping. I'm not going to read till the end of the chapter. I stop right there. And immediately after, I go to do the thing. Maybe the thing was the workout, right? Okay, so here's something, just side note here. With the thing that we want to do, if that thing is working out, start so small. Like start so small that it almost seems silly that you're even doing it. He gave an example in that podcast. He said he had one person that went to the gym for 5 minutes and then left, drove all the way to the gym for 5 minutes and then left after 5 minutes. But the point wasn't he was going to be a muscle man by the end of the month. The point was, I need to make a habit of going to the gym. That's what I'm really trying to do here, is create a habit. So start so small that you have this win. Like when you do this small thing, you feel immediately like, wow, okay, not a big deal. So maybe it's just a 15-minute workout, like super small, not a big deal. And then when you finish, you're going to feel rewarded because you did it and you didn't make it too difficult on yourself. Sometimes I feel like with these new habits that we're trying to do, we make it such a big deal, or we make it too hard, that when we do it, if we do it, we think, wow, that was hard. Like that wasn't easy. I'm not looking forward to tomorrow. So if we make it so easy, that itself is going to be a reward and compel us to keep going. Okay, so here's an example here of how no new behavior is in isolation, because every action becomes a cue that triggers the next behavior. So if we had that scrolling on our phone thing still in there, then I don't know if that would signal to me, okay, now I'm going to put it down and go do a workout. But if I had 2 pages of this book, yeah, then I would be thinking about the thing I'm trying to do. And I would say, okay, read 2 pages of this book and then go do the thing. So there is that little positive ripple effect there. And the same with like having a healthy breakfast, because now you worked out. So now you want to do something good for your body. And now you have a healthy breakfast before you get in the car. Okay, so make it rewarding though, because whatever it is that you're doing right now, good and bad habits, they're there and a part of your life because they're rewarding you in some way or another. Even if they're bad habits, even here's the part about procrastination. Even if it's procrastination and you think, why do I procrastinate? I don't know why I do that. I need to stop doing that. And we don't know why we keep doing it. But procrastinating itself is rewarding because we're stressed out about whatever it is that's going to happen next. So we procrastinate a little bit to get a temporary relief from the thing that we have to do that we're stressed out about. So that temporary relief is enough to make us want to keep procrastinating in the future, even though it's not serving us in any way. It is giving us a little bit of a reprieve. So let's think about how we can make these good habits rewarding, so rewarding that the bad habits are not as enticing, and the not doing it is not as enticing as the doing it part. So maybe after you read those 2 pages, you take a screenshot or you underline your favorite line and you post it on your stories. And then when you do your workout, maybe your loops on your watch close, or you cross it off your workout calendar, or you tag your friend, your accountability buddy. This one was a little fun with this idea, but maybe you could even go get like a special shampoo or conditioner or body wash, and you only use that on the days when you do your workout. So you get that extra reward of, okay, I crossed it off my list. I took a picture and I posted it on my social media. I feel so good right now. Like these immediate gratifying things. And then you go take a shower and you get to use your special body wash that you can't use unless you work out. So I don't know, you tell me what things would reward you that would be immediately doable, not something in the future. Okay, now we're gonna do this same habit stacking, but with your business. So you wake up, you have your coffee, you read 2 pages of your book, then you put down the book and you go do your IPA. So again, if you need to make it small, if the habit isn't there yet and you're like, I just can't be consistent with my IPA, break it into a smaller chunk to get started with so you don't feel so overwhelmed that you're not going to keep doing it. The things that could be rewarding with this is those IPA groups that we're doing. Doing a power hour Zoom is going to keep you in that focused context also, that you're not going to want to do some other things. It won't make sense for you to do something else while you're on a power hour Zoom. You're going to focus and do the thing you're supposed to be doing. And then you could tag your accountability partner. Maybe when you're filling out your IPA sheet, take a screenshot of it and pick your accountability partner or your upline or your sideline and say, okay, this is what I did today, and just send it back and forth. Keep each other accountable. That little thing could feel rewarding for you because you feel like you did something. Tell me in the chat again. I actually don't know if I can see the chat, so I'm gonna have to read the chat after this, but tell each other in the chat, what would feel immediately gratifying after you work on your business? Like what way can you reward yourself? Because the rewarding part is really important. Otherwise, if we don't feel like if we don't reward ourselves for these little tiny things that we're trying to do, then we're gonna not want to do it again, especially if we feel like it's new, it's different, it's difficult, it's not part of your day. So reward yourself. Okay. I know not a lot of you have that flexibility in the morning though. Maybe you don't have a full hour. Some of you are in the medical profession or you're teachers, so you have early mornings and you have very small pockets of time throughout the day. So if you do have a small pocket of time, you're at work, it's lunch break. Okay, what are you going to do then at lunch break? The timer goes off, you take your kids, the alarm, you take your kids to the cafeteria. I'm not a teacher, so I'm just imagining this. Somebody correct me if this is not how it happens in real life. But you take your kids to the cafeteria, and then what? You go back into your office, you sit down, you set a timer on your phone for however much time you're going to give yourself there. Maybe it's 15 minutes, maybe it's 20 minutes, however much time you'll be able to do focused work and do the thing. Maybe it's just new messages at that point, or just your follow-ups, not scrolling, not commenting on stuff. Like, pick a thing, do it until the timer goes off, and then eat your lunch. So there's just another idea for you. Treat it like an appointment, like a dentist appointment, where if you show up 15 minutes late, they're going to charge you $50 for showing up late, or something that feels like, I need to do this just as I need to do other things in my life that are significant and important, because the things you're doing here might seem, negotiable. They're small, minor details, but they're crafting the person that you're becoming. Who you're going to be in 5 years is a reflection of everything that you're doing, all your habits that you have right now. So if you want to implement something like this, make it a priority, make it like an appointment. Okay. So I love how he talked about designing your environment for success. He talked about the grocery store. When we go into the grocery store, we don't get what's at the bottom shelf unless we're really looking for something. We'll get whatever we can see in eyesight. And he gave that example of it's not necessarily even what we want, it's what appeals to us. So if you're trying to do something new, maybe it's this working out, make it so appealing that it's not like something you don't want to do. Like, you dread having to go down to the basement because it's cold and gross and dark down there, and you don't want to go down there to work out. So where can you move that? Where can you go work out that you feel like, I want to be there, I want to be in that place, and I like how I laid out all my stuff and I put all my workout clothes like right front and center in my closet, and now it's so easy for me, it's in my like direct eyesight for me to just go ahead and do the thing. So make it visually appealing. Those visual cues are the greatest catalyst for our behavior, he says. Easily accessible. And those visual cues are going to be triggering the behavior as well. Okay, same with your business. You say, okay, I'm going to work on my business every day. So keep those IPA sheets accessible and in eyesight. If that's what you're doing this month, or however long you're sticking to the IPA sheet, you're in one of those accountability chats, go get them printed, put them somewhere where all your stuff is. So it's that visual cue. I know what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing this week. If you are working your business in those small pockets of time and you're going to do it on your lunch break, put it in your lunch bag, or put it, in somewhere where you take out the habit that's already happening, and bam, there's a new habit that you're trying to implement. And okay, this isn't by accident. I put this here on purpose. And have all of your stuff readily available for you, so that there's like, oh, I don't have my notebook, I don't have this. You have all your stuff, you make the plan ahead of time. And when your day is happening, no matter how you're feeling, because emotions can sway us this way and that, your visual cues are there ready for you to go and triggering your brain like, okay, it's time to go do this thing. I remembered this quote from Maxwell from one of his books, and I was thinking about this when we were talking about context. And I just thought I thought it was so cute, because this quote I thought, oh, it's so cute. But then I was like, no, he's a businessman. This isn't cute. This is how he runs his business. So I'll read it to you real quick. He says, the first thing I do is write thinking time onto my calendar like a regular appointment. And then I treat it like an appointment. I gather my legal pads, files, and other resources, and I move from my normal work area and settle into a quiet, peaceful spot. There, I narrow my focus. I set up a thinking chair in my office, which I use solely for that purpose. So at first, I was like, he has a thinking chair, but then I was like, he writes books. He has so many books. He needs a place where he can work creatively and think about what he's going to do next. So he has a spot for that. And that's not by accident. He did that on purpose because he knows context matters. Like you have to have a spot that's triggering the thing that you want to do. Creative ideas don't just pop out of nowhere, he says. You have to be in a place where it's conducive to those thoughts. So where can you be that's conducive to the thing that you want to do, the habit that you're trying to implement? So when you're there in that place, you automatically start thinking about it because that's your spot. This, however, can get a little tricky if you're using spots in your house or at work or your phone or whatever it may be for different things. So for me, for example, our couch is sometimes where we eat, not all the time, but sometimes we have snacks there. Sometimes we watch movies there. Sometimes I do my work there. Sometimes I do my grocery list there. You know, lots of stuff happens on that couch where, you know, lots of different things. So when I sit there, I'm not even hungry, but I'll start thinking about snacks because that's where you go to have snacks, right? And then I'm also thinking, oh, I got to write my meal plan because that's where I go to sit because it's comfortable and I can sit there for a while and think about my meal plan. But I also sometimes do work there. So while I'm doing those other things, snacking and meal planning, I'm thinking I should be doing some work right now. And so I can't shut it off because I've used that spot for multiple different things and it's not conducive for focusing. So think about what do you need to focus on and where can you go to do that thing so that you're totally focused on it. No other intrusive thoughts are coming into your mind. Maybe you even need to rearrange some furniture, move your desk from one spot to another part of the house, or if you work at your dining table, like that's your desk, don't sit in the chair where you eat your dinner. You know, everybody has their spot. Sit in a different chair. Okay, that's your spot where you do work. This is your spot where you eat. So that way you're just triggering your brain, different spot, different purpose. Okay, so just to recap, we want to put that new habit on top of an old habit like it's a backpack, right? Because if they go together, now they're little besties and they go together. So the old habit is happening no matter what, and the new habit is going to come along with it now. And we want to send them down the path of least resistance. So as tempting as it might be to make it really hard on ourselves and say, I'm going to start working out and I'm going to do a 45-minute workout tomorrow and I'm going to do this, this, and this, like all the things, right? We want to just dive in and do all the things. Make it so small if your goal isn't to, you know, crash and burn, but to create a new habit that's going to be stickable, you know, and stick to your life. And then you will have plenty of opportunities to increase to get to the point that you actually want to be at, you know, where it's doing something for your body. And then make the habit immediately rewarding, like right away, because think about our bad habits. When we eat ice cream, we get an immediate, like, sweet, you know, this is great, I'm going to have this again. So think about your new habit. Maybe it's not ice cream, maybe it is working on your business. How can I make that happen with my new habit where it's immediately gratifying when I do it? And the environment should be conducive for the new habit. And if you need to, create a new context for that habit. So if you normally go into the break room to eat your lunch and you eat with everybody there and you guys all like chat and catch up, but your goal is to do your work during your lunch break, maybe you need to just take those 15 minutes out in your desk, or, you know, if you're working in an office or in your classroom, if you're a teacher, and say, okay, for the next 15 minutes, I got to do this first. Then I can go, you know, catch up with the coworkers, because you know, we just know the old context is going to bring up some old habits, and the new context is a clean slate. The context itself will become the cue. Okay, so here's some things we can do. We can fill out the habits by design sheet, or just think, you know, go through those simple steps. What's the trigger? What am I going to do? Where am I going to do it? And what is going to happen immediately after I do that? So if you place it in between these two things, it'll feel like an appointment. rearrange your furniture if you need to, or just think about new spots. If you're like me and you use your couch for multiple different reasons, kind of draw a line there and be like, okay, I'm not going to do my work on the couch anymore. I'm going to do it in my office because that's where I go to do my work. Make sure you have all your stuff ready and accessible and in sight, just like Maxwell. He says, I got all my stuff. I go to my spot, I get all my stuff, and that's where the thinking happens. And who are you going to become while we repeatedly do this behavior? What is the specific thing that you're going to do? And start small, just for the beginning. And when, after you do this, but before you do this, where, we don't want to mix those contexts, and how can I make it immediately rewarding so that I keep doing it? Okay, so I love this quote. You know, the 2 chapters for me were all about creating new habits, but the underlying message there really was that we're not the victim of our habits. As much as we feel like, I just am this way and I don't know why I am this way, this is just what I do, we can sometimes get into that mentality where we think, I just procrastinate, that's just who I am, I can't stop it, I don't know why. But if we acknowledge it, you know, and then we create the new habit, we're not a victim anymore. We are an architect. We're creating the kind of life we want to have and the person that we want to be. So he says, I began to realize that my results had very little to do with the goals I set and nearly everything to do with the systems that I followed. And that is all I have for you guys tonight. So we're going to break into our small group discussions. If you did participate in the chat, I'm going to check it out and see what you wrote. Thank you, guys.
Syra, that was so good.